Hello my dear friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. This is a price compensation scheme by the Madhya Pradesh state government. We will come to the details of this Yojana later in this lecture, but before we begin, let me tell you what is the current affair that is related to the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. The Madhya Pradesh state government has recently announced that Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana scheme would be implemented in a new form. That means this was an already existing scheme and it is a scheme in order to compensate the farmers for a income loss due to price instability. So now the state government has decided that it will be introducing a new form of this Yojana. So this is the current affair and based on this we will understand what is the scheme, what are the benefits, what are the concerns, why the government is considering a new form of this Yojana and what more has to be done. So let us start. Let us first understand what is Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana or what are the highlights of this scheme. So the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana was launched in the month of October 2017 by the Madhya Pradesh state government. Agriculture is a state subject. So, Schedule 7 of the Indian Constitution deals with three types of list. One is the union list, second is the state list and third one is the concurrent list. And agriculture falls under the state list. Under the union list there are 99 items, state list there are 44 items and in the concurrent list around 52 items. So, whatever subjects falls under the state list, the state government can decide upon or legislate upon. So, agriculture being a state subject, it comes under the state list. Particular state governments can legislate upon the items that are mentioned in the state list. So, accordingly, the Madhya Pradesh state government has introduced or had introduced Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana in the month of October 2017. And the aim of this Yojana was to compensate farmers in the event of a price crash. We have earlier also discussed in many lectures that the prices of agricultural commodities are highly volatile. This will highly depend on the demand and supply factors. So, there is always a possibility of price crash in case of agricultural commodities. And in case of price crash, what happens? The farmers will be awarded lesser remuneration for their produce. So, in case of a price crash, the farmers will suffer. They will not have enough revenues to invest in the next cropping season. So, in order to avoid such a situation and the farmers' distress, different state governments have come up with different type of schemes. And the Madhya Pradesh government has come up with the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. So, we have already discussed about the Kaliya scheme in Orissa. We have also discussed about the Raitu Bandhu scheme in Telangana. These are all income support schemes. But this is a different scheme which will compensate the farmers for a loss in revenue in case of a price crash. And initially, in the month of October 2017, when the scheme was introduced, this was applicable to 8 crops. And this 8 crops included mostly oil seeds and pulses. And under the scheme, the farmers would be compensated if the selling price is lesser than the MSP. MSP is the minimum support price announced by the government. So, if the farmer sells the commodities at a price that is lesser than the MSP, a compensation would be provided to the farmer under the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. Now, what will be the rate of the compensation? This rate of compensation will be dependent on the model price. So, what is this model price? The model price refers to the average market price within the states and the market outside the states. So, this is an average market price that is existing within the state and also in the markets outside the states where the similar commodity is traded. Now, if a farmer wants to avail the benefits of this Yojana, he or she will have to register with the village level cooperative society. And this has to be done along with the registration of Aadhaar and the bank account. So, what would be the purpose of linking Aadhaar and bank account with the cooperative society? This is because the difference between the selling price and the model rate would be deposited directly in the bank account of the beneficiary. So, this is a direct benefit transfer scheme. This will be directly deposited to the bank account. And another feature of the scheme is that there is no physical procurement involved. So, in case of MSPs, there is a physical procurement. And one major concern with physical procurement is the issue of leakages and administrative cost. So the government can eliminate the need for administrative cost and also leakages due to physical procurement. So here there is no physical procurement, but instead the price difference is directly credited to the bank account of the farmer or the beneficiary. Now let us understand what are the concerns regarding the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. That is the reason why the government is planning to reschedule it or to re-implement it in a different form. Now let us understand what was the problems with the first phase of this Yojana. So the major concern or criticism in the first phase of this Yojana was that it benefited the traders more than the farmers. So how did this happen? In India, we know that a majority of the farmers have small land holdings or fragmented land holdings. They undertake small scale cultivation. A large percentage of the farmers are even tenant farmers. So all this together culminates into a fragmented supply chain and thereby an improper price realization for the produce of the farmers. So when government introduced a scheme like Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana, the traders were able to make more benefit out of it rather than the farmers. The traders formed cartels. So what is meant by cartels? Groups, and they deliberately kept the prices very low. That means the market prices were kept very low by the traders themselves. The traders purchased from the farmers also at a very lower rates. So in effect what happens? The farmers will get very less rates from the traders for their produce. And the traders kept the market prices also low. And the government would be compensating the difference between the selling price and the model price. And the traders were able to reap the benefits of this Yojana. Instead of the farmers, they got the benefit from the government. For example, let us consider the prices of soya bean. It was reported that the prices of soya bean crashed after the scheme was announced. That means the market price went down. And when the scheme was withdrawn or after the selling period under the scheme, the prices of soya bean went up. So this means that the prices were deliberately kept low by the traders. So under the scheme, the traders were able to reap the benefits rather than the farmers. And this was the major allegation against the scheme. And that is the reason the Madhya Pradesh government has reconsidered the implementation of the scheme in a new form. Now let us analyze the performance of this scheme in its first edition. So the total registration for the Kharif 2017 under the scheme was around 25% of the total operational holdings in the state. And around 1/3 of the Kharif area was covered under the Bhavantar Bhugtan Yojana. Now coming to different commodities. First commodity, soya bean. Soya bean is the major Kharif crop in Madhya Pradesh. And in case of soya bean, close to around 50% of the area under cultivation of soya bean was covered under the scheme. Other crops that were majorly covered under the scheme were moong and urad. Now let us understand what has to be done by the state government in order to improve the performance of the scheme. The first issue that has to be sorted out is the delay, especially with the registration announcement. The registration announcement is delayed and it lags behind the arrival of the crops in the mandis. So this delay needs to be rectified. Secondly, the government also should ensure that this benefits mainly the small and marginal farmers. We have seen that the major concern is the cartelization of the traders. So this scheme is being criticized that it is benefiting the traders more than the farmers. So government should ensure that the small and the marginal farmers for whom the scheme has been targeted are benefited out of the scheme. And thirdly, the auction system needs to be improved. For this, the e-NAM, that is Electronic National Agricultural Market, can be an appropriate intervention. And the scheme should also be complemented by the use of technology. For example, for price discovery or for determining the quality of the crops, technology can be introduced, and this will bring in more transparency in the process. So when the state government is considering to implement the scheme in a new form, the government can consider all this to bring in more efficiency and effectiveness of the scheme. You can find the PDF of this lecture on my Facebook page, and for any queries regarding your UPSC preparations, you can get in touch with me on my Facebook page or you can email me at joyce.studiiq@gmail.com. Thank you.